When my grandmother left me a $150 million hotel, my husband and mother-in-law instantly declared, "Starting tomorrow, we're taking over. If you refuse, the marriage is over." Right then and there, I started laughing because, you know that feeling when your entire world shatters in an instant and you're left standing in the wreckage, barely breathing? What would you do if, the very second you inherited a $150 million hotel, your mother-in-law declared she was taking it over, your husband threatened divorce, and they threw you out of your own home? Because that's exactly what happened to me. But they had no idea what was coming next. It was my 27th birthday, and we were at the Alien Garden, a place so luxurious, the clinking of spoons sounded like a symphony. My husband, Michael, was there, handsome in his designer suit, but his eyes were glued to his phone. Next to him, my mother-in-law, Sharon, dripped in pearls and gold, her every movement a flash of expensive ambition. Across from me was my grandma, Eleanor, my rock, my quiet strength. She was the one who insisted on this dinner. Sharon, well, she never really liked me. In her eyes, I was just a stay-at-home wife, lucky to have married her successful son. The truth they conveniently forgot? Grandma Eleanor had secretly provided the seed capital for Michael's entire import-export firm. Funny, right? Chloe, Sharon chirped, a fake smile plastered on her face. For someone who's home all day, you keep yourself in good shape, don't you? It sounded like a compliment, but it was a dig. Michael chuckled weakly. I just forced a smile, the bitterness burning my throat. Thank you, Sharon. I guess I move around the house a lot. Grandma just watched, her sharp eyes missing nothing. Then, after dessert, the air in the room actually shifted. Grandma cleared her throat, and the piano music seemed to dim. Today, we celebrate my granddaughter, Chloe's birthday, she announced, her voice soft but commanding. 27 is a special age. An age where a mature woman knows what she wants and is ready to take on great responsibilities. Sharon actually rolled her eyes. Michael, meanwhile, was probably thinking of another cash envelope. But Grandma didn't pull out a jewelry box. She handed me a deep mahogany leather portfolio. "Chloe, darling," she said gently. My heart was pounding. Inside were deeds, legal documents, papers. Stamped on the first page, the Eleanor Grand Hotel. "Grandma, what is this?" I whispered. "Your birthday present, my girl," she said, a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "It's the new hotel downtown. All in your name. About $150 million. Silence. Deafening. A waiter dropped a spoon, and it sounded like a gong. I was frozen. Tears welled up as I looked from the documents to my grandmother's face. This wasn't just a gift, this was insane. Then I looked at Michael. His face went from pale to scarlet. The phone he was clutching fell into his lap. But his eyes weren't on me. They were locked on Sharon. And Sharon? Her mouth was slightly agape, the forced smile gone, replaced by pure, unadulterated greed. It was as if this gift was a personal insult to her. "Congratulations, Chloe," she finally rasped, the word generous, dripping with venom. Michael quickly snatched his phone, forcing a laugh. $150 million? Huh. Grandma, are you serious? This is incredible, honey. He grabbed my hand, his grip cold and too tight, like I was property, not his wife. I was too overwhelmed to react. "Grandma, this is too much," I pleaded. "I can't accept it." Eleanor placed her hand over mine. "You can and you will. It's time you have what you deserve. I trust you." The rest of the dinner was a blur. Sharon and Michael were unnervingly quiet, constantly exchanging tense glances and whispers. As we left, I hugged Grandma tightly, feeling safe, but also an inexplicable fear. She whispered in my ear, "Be careful, my girl. This gift is a test." A test. Grandma knew. The drive home was agonizing. No words. The air was thick with unspoken tension. I clutched the portfolio like a shield, feeling Michael's anger radiating off him. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Sharon, in the back, stared straight ahead, her lips a thin, cruel line. I tried to speak, "Michael, about the hoe." He cut me off. Flat. Cold. "We'll talk at home." This wasn't the Michael I knew. Or maybe this was the real Michael. Our house in the gated community felt less like a home and more like a fortress built on Sharon's rules. Every piece of furniture, every aspect of my daily life, seemed to need her approval. Inside, Sharon didn't retreat to her room. She marched straight to the sofa, sat like a queen ready to preside over a trial, and dropped her expensive purse with a thud. Michael stood beside her, arms crossed, looking at me. I stood in the middle of the room, clutching my portfolio, feeling like the accused. Sharon spoke first, her voice no longer bothering with politeness. It's completely insane to give such an expensive toy to a child who knows nothing. The insult hit me hard. Do you think you can do anything with that hotel? She practically screamed. You can't even take care of your husband without my help. Michael stood silent, letting her attack. That hotel, she continued, should be a family business. We can't let Chloe, who knows nothing, manage so much money. Michael finally chimed in, trying to sound reasonable, but it was clear whose side he was on. It's true, honey. My mother has more experience. This is for everyone's good. We can expand the hotel. I could leave my job and focus on it. Sharon's eyes gleamed. Good. Tomorrow, your husband and I will take over the hotel. I'll be the CFO and Michael will be the CEO. We're family after all. Then, her gaze turned to me, pure disdain. You know nothing about business. It's more suitable for you to stay home and receive your monthly allowance. A cold anger started to burn inside me. This wasn't just about the hotel anymore. It was about my dignity, trampled on for years. Grandma's whisper echoed, "This gift is a test." I took a deep breath, placed the portfolio on the table, but didn't let go. I looked Sharon dead in the eye, then shifted my gaze to Michael. "Oh, absolutely not, Sharon," I said, my voice low, firm, and completely unwavering. The room went silent. They were stunned. They didn't expect me to fight back. "What did you say?" Sharon's voice rose an octave. "I said no," I repeated, louder this time. "That hotel is a gift to me. It's in my name, and my grandmother Eleanor gave it to me." I hugged the portfolio to my chest. "I'm the boss now. I make all the decisions." I had no idea where this courage came from, but it felt incredibly liberating. Michael's face turned beet red. He hadn't expected his docile wife to talk back. "How dare you speak to my mother like that, Chloe?" he roared. "The money has gone to your head." "I'm just defending what's mine," I said calmly. "It's my hotel." His anger erupted, shattering the mask of the good, patient husband. "Oh, you think you're so important now, the hotel owner?" He stepped forward, pointing a finger in my face. "Listen to me carefully. If you're going to act like this, if you refuse to be controlled by us, then we're getting a divorce." The threat hung in the air. He was so sure I'd be scared. So sure I wouldn't dare lose my status as his wife. "You want to be a divorce?" he sneered. "Who do you think will want a divorced woman like you?" The word divorce hit me hard, but something shifted. My heart ached, yes, but I didn't cry. I saw him clearly for the first time. This was my value to him. Sharon, seeing me still, rose, her triumph surging. "Insolent, ungrateful, shameless woman," she shrieked, pointing dramatically to the front door. "You're nothing but a parasite in this family. Get out of this house tonight. Get out with your hotel and never come back." Out. That one word echoed in my ears. Thrown out on my birthday. I just stood there, stunned, looking at the two people who were supposed to be my family. The man threatening divorce. The woman kicking me out. Something cold and hard formed in my heart, replacing the sharp pain. I didn't even cry. I just saw them for what they were. Two greedy people who saw me as a threat to their money source. Divorce and eviction were their weapons. I was about to speak, I don't even know what I was going to say. But before I could utter a single word, a low click echoed. The front door unlocked. Click. Then, it swung open. Michael and Sharon gasped. They expected me to be leaving through that door, not someone coming in. Eleanor stood on the threshold. Behind her, two burly men in black suits, faces expressionless. Grandma wasn't angry. She was calm. And that calmness was far more terrifying than any anger in the room. She walked in, her flats making no sound on the marble floor. "Grandma?" My voice trembled. Sharon, recovering her shock, exploded. "Stay out of this, ma'am," she yelled, her authority threatened. "I'm disciplining this shameless daughter-in-law. She dares to talk back to her husband and mother-in-law. I'm kicking her out of my son's house." She lunged towards me. Eleanor simply raised a hand. A small gesture. Just her palm extended. Sharon froze. "Disciplining?" Grandma repeated, her voice low but cutting. "Kicking her out?" A dry, humorless laugh escaped her lips. "Sharon, you can't kick the owner out of her own house." The statement hung in the air. Sharon frowned, confused. "What are you talking about, you senile old woman?" "Of course, this house belongs to my son. Michael bought it." Michael, who had been silent, started to sweat. He looked at Sharon, at Eleanor, at me. He knew exactly what was coming. His face was pale. "Grandma, please," he whispered. Eleanor ignored him, her eyes fixed on Sharon. "Your son, Michael's house?" She spoke Michael's name, and he flinched. "Have you never been honest with your mother, Michael? Or have you been living a lie for so long that you've forgotten what the truth is?" She walked slowly around the luxurious sofa Sharon had chosen. This mansion, this luxurious 3-story house in this exclusive community. "Sharon, did you ever ask Michael how he managed to put together a $3 million down payment when he had only been working for 2 years?" Sharon was silent, her eyes darting to Michael, demanding answers. He couldn't look at her. "It was a bonus from the company," he mumbled weakly. "A bonus from the company?" Eleanor scoffed. "The company where Michael worked, that successful import-export firm." "Sharon, do you know who the real owner of that company is?" Eleanor stopped in front of me, giving my trembling hand a gentle pat. "That company. The luxury car Michael drives every day. And yes, even this house, it was all a wedding gift for Chloe, long before the hotel. Everything is in Chloe's name." The truth hit Sharon like a freight train. She staggered backward, clutching her chest. "No, it can't be. It's a lie. Tell me she's lying, Michael," she shrieked hysterically. But Michael just hung his head, his fists clenched. He couldn't deny it. His entire life of luxury, his pride as a successful man, turned out to be borrowed. He had only been allowed to manage assets belonging to the wife he now threatened to divorce. Eleanor's gaze turned cold on Michael. "And you, Michael, you just threatened my granddaughter with divorce and insulted her by calling her a divorcee." She gestured to one of the men behind her. The man, a lawyer named Mr. Harrison, stepped forward, opening a folder. "What did you think?" Eleanor continued. "That after you threatened her and your mother kicked her out, you could just keep the hotel?" Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. "Mr. Miller, Mrs. Miller, I am Mr. Harrison, legal representative of Mrs. Eleanor Vance. The threat of divorce Mr. Miller just uttered has been heard by more than 2 witnesses. That already has legal standing and can be a solid basis for a divorce filing." Sharon's jaw dropped. "Divorce? Who's talking about divorce? We didn't talk about divorce." Mr. Harrison looked at her expressionlessly. "My client's husband just yelled, 'We're getting a divorce.' My client, Mrs. Chloe Miller, has accepted those words as an intention to divorce." "No." Michael finally broke free from his frozen state. "I didn't mean it. I was upset. Chloe, honey, it was an outburst." Eleanor interrupted him. "It's too late. My patience has run out. For years, I have kept silent as I watched my granddaughter be belittled in her own home, treated like a maid by you, Sharon, and betrayed by you, Michael, who instead of defending your wife, followed your mother's greed." Eleanor looked at me. "Granddaughter, bring that portfolio." Still in shock, I nodded and handed her the hotel portfolio. "And now," Eleanor said, her voice calm once more, "this is my granddaughter Chloe's house, and you two are unwelcome guests." Sharon was trembling, not with anger now, but with fear. "You can't do this. This house is mine." "Prove it," Eleanor challenged. "Call the police. Show them the deed to this house." "Oh, I'm sorry. I have the deed, and it's in Chloe's name." Hysteria erupted. Realizing every word was true, Sharon no longer screamed at me. She turned on her own son. "Michael, why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me live in this lie?" She beat on his chest uncontrollably. "You said you were just a parasite living off your wife. What kind of man are you, Michael? Michael, his pride completely shattered, pushed his mother, sending her tumbling onto the sofa. This is all your fault, he shouted, tears streaming down his face. Your fault for never being satisfied, always comparing me to others, pushing me to want more, making me greedy. There was a time when I loved Chloe. I loved her. Eleanor snorted. Your love was purely material, Michael. Sharon slumped on the sofa, howling like a wounded wolf. She wasn't sorry for her mistakes. She was sorry for the luxury she was about to lose. She clung to the leg of the table as if embracing her property for the last time. No, this house is mine. I chose these curtains. I chose this sofa. You can't take it from me. The scene was pathetic. And disgusting. I finally found my voice. The pain in my heart had gone numb. What remained was a deep, dense disappointment. I looked at Michael, the man I once loved, the man who had sworn to protect me. Now he seemed small and despicable. So all this time, all your actions, all those sweet words, were because I was the access to my grandmother's money, I whispered. Michael couldn't meet my gaze. He fell to his knees, not before me, but before Eleanor. Grandma, forgive me. Grandma, I was wrong. Please don't take everything from me. Don't divorce us. I promise I'll be a good husband to Chloe. I'll stand up. To my mother. I promise. Sharon shrieked, ungrateful son. You're going to choose that woman over your own mother. Shut up, Mom. Michael yelled. Don't you realize we'll be on the street tonight? Mr. Harrison, ignoring the chaotic family drama, stepped forward. Mrs. Miller, Mr. Miller, my client, Mrs. Chloe Miller, demands that you vacate her property immediately. Vacate? Sharon stood up. It's nighttime. Where will we sleep? That is not my client's concern, Mr. Harrison replied dryly. You have threatened and expelled the rightful owner. Your status now is that of trespassers. Chloe. Michael crawled towards me, trying to grab my feet. Honey, please don't do this. This is our home. I stepped back as if his touch could transmit poison. I looked at his face. The face I once adored now seemed strange, full of hypocrisy. I remembered all the times he praised his mother's cooking over mine, bought her expensive purses while I got permission to buy clothes on sale. And I remembered the threat of divorce, the insult he'd just hurled. I took a deep breath, looked at Eleanor, who gave me strength, and nodded. Mr. Harrison, I called out, my own voice surprising me, strong and unwavering. Give them 15 minutes to collect their most important personal belongings. Michael and Sharon froze. The order had come from me, not Eleanor. Chloe, you don't mean it. Michael moaned. 15 minutes, I repeated. The other man in the suit, a private security guard, will accompany you to your rooms to ensure you pack your things and don't take anything that isn't yours. Sharon fainted. For real this time. Her eyes rolled back and her body slumped to the floor. Michael panicked. Mom, Chloe, please. My mother has fainted. Call an ambulance. I looked at her slumped body, then at Michael. Grandma, do we have the number for 911? Eleanor smiled faintly. Mr. Harrison, handle it. The lawyer took out his phone. An ambulance is on its way. While they wait, Mr. Miller's 15 minutes have already started. I suggest you start packing for yourself and your mother. Michael was torn between his fainted mother and the threat of losing everything. He howled in frustration and ran up the stairs. We could hear things being thrown around. The security guard followed him. I stayed in the living room. I didn't want to see that room again. Soon, paramedics arrived. At the same time, Michael came down with a large suitcase and Sharon's small handbag. Sharon, surprisingly, regained consciousness as soon as they put her on a stretcher. She started howling again, my things. My purses. My jewelry. The jewelry is in the bag, Mom, Michael whispered, embarrassed. They were escorted to the door. On the threshold, Michael stopped, turned, and looked at me. I stood tall beside my grandmother, clutching the hotel portfolio. His face was wet with tears, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of rage and defeat. Chloe, you'll regret this, he threatened weakly. I looked him straight in the eye. You said I would become a divorcee. You were wrong. My voice was cold and sharp. I will become a rich and free woman. And you, who threatened divorce in front of witnesses, will be left on the street." I nodded to the security guard. The door closed. The sound of the ambulance siren and Sharon's screams slowly faded. I leaned against the door, my legs suddenly turning to jelly. I looked at Eleanor, and finally, tears of relief and catharsis flowed. The next morning, a strange stillness. For the first time in 3 years, I woke up alone. No snoring, no knocks from Sharon demanding breakfast. Just a cold sheet and the morning sun piercing the curtains, illuminating dust motes. The silence was deafening. The house, which once felt suffocating, now seemed vast and empty. I sat on the edge of the bed, hugging my knees. Relief, yes, a weight lifted. But beneath it, a new fear. I was free. But what would I do with this freedom? I owned a massive house, a hotel worth hundreds of millions. I was the Chloe who knew nothing about business. I showered and dressed. Downstairs, the smell of fresh coffee and toast. Grandma was already at the table, reading the paper as if nothing had happened. "Good morning, granddaughter," she said, folding the newspaper. "Did you sleep well?" I managed a faint smile. The housekeeper, who had been here long before I married Michael, placed a plate in front of me, giving me a knowing smile. "Grandma, I'm scared," I whispered, my voice raw. "I don't know where to start. The hotel, the business. I really don't know anything," just like Sharon said. Eleanor put down her cup and took my hand. "Do you think I would have given a $150 million toy to someone who knows nothing?" She smiled mysteriously. "Chloe, do you remember 3 years ago when I asked you to organize the accounting books for the charitable foundation? You said they were too complicated." "I remember," I said. "The reports were a mess, and you left them impeccable," she continued. "And do you remember last year when I asked you to analyze the investment proposals from 3 startups, and you said you didn't understand?" "I just chose the one with the clearest product that made the most sense," I admitted. "And that company is now worth triple," Eleanor said. "And remember when I asked you to review all the supplier contracts for our charities and you discovered a 20% overbilling?" I fell silent. It was all clicking into place. "I've been training you," Eleanor said, interrupting my thoughts. "I knew the true nature of Michael and his mother for a long time. I knew this day would come. I couldn't give you a fortune without also giving you the weapons to protect it. It's not that you know nothing, Chloe. It's that you haven't yet realized how much you know. You have a sharp business instinct. You are meticulous and you are honest. That's more than enough." Her words were like pouring gasoline on a small flame inside me. The fear didn't vanish, but now it was accompanied by fierce determination. "Mr. Harrison will be here soon," Eleanor said. "We're going to the Eleanor Grand. It's time for the owner to greet her employees." An hour later, a sleek black luxury sedan pulled up in front of the Eleanor Grand Hotel. The building was imposing, glass gleaming under the morning sun. My heart pounded. As I walked in, flanked by Eleanor and Mr. Harrison, the lobby staff bowed respectfully. They knew the new owner was arriving. I walked through that magnificent lobby with my head held high, wearing a simple but elegant outfit. We went straight to the main boardroom on the penthouse floor. A dozen impeccably dressed managers stood in unison as I entered. I took the main chair at the head of the table, with Eleanor on one side and Mr. Harrison on the other. The tension was palpable. I could feel their stares, curiosity, skepticism, a faint disdain. A young, meek-looking woman had suddenly become their boss. Mr. Harrison began, "Good morning, everyone. I present to you Miss Chloe Miller. She is the new owner and CEO of the Eleanor Grand Hotel." A middle-aged man, looking the most senior with a general manager name badge, cleared his throat. "Welcome, ma'am. I am Mr. Wallace. All of us here are ready to help you adjust." The word adjust was delivered with a tone that implied I was an outsider. I smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Wallace. I appreciate the gesture." I looked at each manager in the room. "I won't beat around the bush. I know I'm new here, but this hotel is mine, and I intend to know everything that happens in it." My gaze fell on a man next to Mr. Wallace, who held a tablet. "Mr. Peterson, you're the finance manager, correct?" Peterson was visibly surprised I knew his name. "Yes, ma'am. I reviewed a brief financial report last night, I said, surprising everyone. I noticed a rather large new expense item in the last 2 weeks related to a company called Future Forward Consulting. Could you explain what this consultancy is for and why a year's worth of fees was paid up front? Mr. Peterson instantly broke into a cold sweat. He hadn't expected me to notice that detail so quickly. Mr. Wallace shot him a sharp look. It's a consultancy for operational efficiency, ma'am, Peterson stammered. Operational efficiency? I countered, my eyes, once soft, now sharp. But another report shows that our operating costs increased by 5% last week. And as for Future Forward Consulting, I asked Mr. Harrison to check on it this morning. The company was registered only 2 weeks ago. The room went silent. Peterson's face turned white. He knew he was caught. Mr. Peterson, my voice was soft but full of steel. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm here to protect my assets. I'll ask you one more time. Who authorized this payment? Peterson swallowed hard, looking from Mr. Harrison to Eleanor. He knew if he lied, his career was over. Finally, he broke. I'm sorry, ma'am, he whispered, trembling. The order came from Mr. Miller. The whole room held its breath. Mr. Miller? I repeated, feigning confusion. What authority does my husband have in this hotel? He said he represented the owning family, Peterson continued, now resigned. He said it was to secure, well, a portion of the assets before you took full control. He brought the contract and pressured me to process the payment that same day. He ordered me to create the fake consulting contract. This confession was like a bomb. A chill of cold victory ran through me. This was my first step. I looked at all the managers. As of today, I said firmly, I am announcing a full external audit of all departments. And Mr. Peterson, thank you for your honesty. Please give Mr. Harrison all the documents related to Future Forward Consulting and all correspondence with Mr. Miller. While I was taking my first steps as queen of the hotel, Michael and Sharon were experiencing their first fall. The ambulance bill from Sharon's fainting was marked as a false call. They didn't have the cash. With what was left in Michael's wallet, they rented a small, grimy motel room on the outskirts of the city that smelled of stale cigarettes and mothballs. The ceiling fans groaned. Sharon sat on the edge of the bed, still in her luxurious party dress, now dirty and wrinkled. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but the tears had dried, replaced by a simmering anger. On the street. We're on the street, she hissed. This is all your fault, Michael. Your fault for being so stupid. Why didn't you tell me everything belonged to Chloe? Michael paced the tiny room like a caged lion, his face red. He had just tried to access his salary account, frozen. His corporate credit card, declined. Eleanor had blocked everything. He truly had nothing. Shut up, Mom, he yelled, frustrated. You think I knew this would happen? I thought I had her under control. I thought if I threatened her with divorce, she'd get scared. Turns out that old woman has brainwashed her. And now what? Sharon moaned. What are we going to eat? Where are we going to live? My jewelry, my purses, everything is left in that house. Michael stopped pacing, his gaze fixed on the old laptop he'd salvaged. The only valuable electronic device he had. A crazy, evil idea began to form in his mind. He still had one weapon left. Something very personal. You're right, Mom, Michael said, his eyes gleaming with cunning. We can't just give up. She's insulted us. She's humiliated us. It's time to bring her to her knees. Sharon looked at her son. What are you planning? Chloe can keep the hotel, Michael whispered. But I have her past. He opened the laptop, an old, hidden folder. Old files, photos, videos from their honeymoon. Moments when I wasn't as poised. Photos of me on the beach in tank tops and shorts. Videos of us laughing in a hotel room with my hair down. Not pornographic, but for the CEO of a famous hotel, those photos were a scandal. A humiliation that could destroy my reputation. You're her husband, Sharon whispered, her eyes also gleaming now. She understood. You have the right. Use it. Destroy her. Michael smiled, opened a messaging app, and sent a message directly to my number. You think you've won, don't you? You think you can throw my mother and me out like we're trash? You're very wrong, Chloe. He attached a photo, A picture of me laughing by the pool, hair down. I have many photos from our vacations. Photos that show what a CEO's wife is really like. I'm sure your new managers would love to see this. Transfer 50% of the hotel's value to my new account in 24 hours, or everyone will see what a hypocrite you are. He pressed send, leaning back, feeling victorious. He was sure I'd be scared. Sure I'd do anything to protect my image. In the penthouse of the Eleanor Grand Hotel, I had just finished a marathon meeting with the audit team. Tired, but satisfied. My phone buzzed. I opened it, thinking it was from Eleanor. My gaze froze on the screen, the photo, the memory, and the blackmail message beneath it. My stomach churned. Nausea rose in my throat. This was different. This wasn't about money or the house. This was about my honor. I felt exposed. Dirty. Just as Michael wanted me to feel, weak and scared. My hands were shaking. I ran to Eleanor's office next door. Eleanor and Mr. Harrison were reviewing documents when I burst in. My face was pale. "Grandma," I whispered, handing her the phone. Eleanor looked at the photo, then read the message. Her serene face hardened instantly. "Wretch," she whispered, her voice full of venom. Mr. Harrison read it over her shoulder. "Grandma, what do I do?" I started to cry. Do I give him what he wants? I don't want those photos. No, Eleanor said firmly. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Mr. Harrison, surprisingly, was calm. There was even a faint smile on his lips. "Ma'am, please calm down," he said. "Don't respond. Don't say anything, but Mr. Harrison, Mr. Harrison pointed to my phone. He has just given us the greatest gift he could offer." Eleanor and I looked at him confused. "Your husband," Mr. Harrison continued, "has just committed 2 serious felonies simultaneously, extortion, and a severe violation of privacy laws for attempting to disseminate private content without permission. If we add the evidence we have from Mr. Peterson about the attempted embezzlement of hotel assets, our position in the divorce and in a criminal proceeding is unbeatable. He just handed us the rope to hang himself with." I stopped crying. My fear began to turn into a cold rage. "So, what should I do?" "We will file for divorce today," Mr. Harrison explained. "And we will file a police report for this blackmail attempt. Let him wait for the transfer that will never come. Let him get nervous. In his panic, he's sure to make another mistake." I took a deep breath, looked at Mr. Harrison, then at Eleanor. I nodded. "Do it, Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice now steady. "Use everything necessary. I don't want to see his face again, except in a courtroom." The silence in the motel room was far more terrifying than any anger. "She's ignoring us," Sharon whispered, her broken nails drumming on the old wooden table. "How dare she? How dare she stay silent after what you sent her?" Michael felt a sickening wave of frustration. His last personal weapon hadn't worked. Or worse, I didn't care. With the information from Mr. Peterson, our external auditors went to work. They were like surgeons dissecting the hotel's operations, and what they found was shocking. Michael's embezzlement attempt was just the tip of the iceberg. The shell company, Future Forward Consulting, transferred a monthly commission to an account in Mr. Wallace's wife's name. Michael, in his hasty greed, had simply taken advantage of an existing system of corruption. He and Mr. Wallace were 2 parasites feasting on the same body, the hotel. That afternoon, I called Mr. Wallace to my office. Mr. Harrison and 2 auditors were waiting for him. "Mr. Wallace," I greeted him calmly. "I wanted to ask you about our contract with Vega Foods." He still tried to force a smile, but it was awkward. "Of course, ma'am. They're our best suppliers." "Perhaps the best at overbilling," I retorted. The auditor presented a pile of evidence: inflated invoices, bank transfer records to his relatives' accounts, and the testimony of the head chef, who had complained about product quality. Wallace's face went from white to ashen. He knew he was finished. "This is a misunderstanding." "This is theft," I interrupted, my voice icy. "Mr. Wallace, you are terminated, effective immediately and without severance. Mr. Harrison will proceed with a criminal complaint for embezzlement of company funds. Hand over your access card." Wallace slumped in his chair. His downfall, so swift and decisive, sent a clear message throughout the hotel. The old era was over. Meanwhile, in the motel room, the 24 hours were up. Michael, in a fit of blind rage, made his second fatal mistake. "She thinks I'm kidding," he growled. He opened a new, anonymous social media account, posted a blurry photo of my back, with slightly damp hair. He added a caption, "Curious to see the real face of the CEO of the Eleanor Grand Hotel? This is just the beginning." He tagged the hotel's location. "Your time is up, Chloe. Get ready to be famous." He sent a new message to me, linking the account. But he didn't know that Eleanor's digital security team was waiting for him. Within minutes, the account was mass-reported and suspended. The photo disappeared before almost anyone could see it. That evening, Mr. Morales, our private investigator, met with Eleanor again. He carried a thin folder. "As you suspected, ma'am," he said quietly, "Sharon has serious problems. Gambling debts. It started with small-time card games, then high-stakes poker. She lost a lot. To cover it, she borrowed money from loan sharks." Eleanor listened intently. "What is the total principal she owes to 3 different lenders?" "Around $3 million. With interest, it could have already reached $4 million, Mr. Morales reported. I, having just joined the meeting, gasped. $3 million. She planned to use the hotel, Eleanor concluded, her voice dark. She wanted to turn my granddaughter's hotel into her personal ATM to pay off her gambling debts. "There's more, ma'am," Morales continued. "Those creditors are not ordinary people. They gave Sharon a final deadline. The deadline was yesterday. They are desperately looking for her." Eleanor looked at the report. The motel address was there. Morales had found them. "They know Sharon has lost her source of money," he whispered. "They won't be playing games." Eleanor was silent for a moment. Then, she looked at Mr. Morales. "Good. It's time for the creditors to know where she's hiding." The war was launched on 2 different fronts. Early the next morning, Mr. Harrison, in his finest suit, stepped out of his car in front of the city's police precinct. He carried a thick folder with an official complaint filed on my behalf. The accusations were clear: attempted extortion, serious violation of privacy laws, and defamation. The evidence was irrefutable. Screenshots of Michael's first blackmail message, the private photo he sent, the link to the now-closed anonymous social media account. The police, seeing the prominent Vance name and the solid digital evidence, acted immediately. This was a priority case. An arrest warrant for Michael was processed immediately. At the same time, in family court, another of Mr. Harrison's legal teams was filing for divorce. The papers were even thicker. They contained a full transcript of my birthday night, with Michael's explicit declaration of divorce heard by 3 witnesses. Added to this was the evidence of attempted embezzlement from Mr. Peterson. And as the final nail in the coffin of that marriage, a copy of the police report for blackmail. I demanded a swift divorce and that Michael have no right to a single cent of the marital assets, as he had committed grave betrayal and criminal acts against his wife. The legal process, which would normally take months, was fast-tracked thanks to the overwhelming evidence. On a third, darker, lawless front, Eleanor made her move through Mr. Morales. An anonymous message was sent from a burner phone. Short and to the point. Sent to a number known to be that of the lieutenant of one of the city's biggest loan sharks. The content: Sharon Rose Motel, room 207 Hawthorne Avenue with her son. The message sent, the phone was broken and thrown into a river. Eleanor washed her hands of it and went back to her morning tea. The bait was set. Room 207 of the Rose Motel was hell. Michael and Sharon were screaming at each other. "Idiot! Idiot!" Sharon yelled, throwing an old pillow at Michael. "Your plan has completely failed. The account is gone. Nobody saw it. Now we have nothing. You've ruined everything." "I've ruined it?" Michael retorted just as loudly. "Look at yourself. If you hadn't been so greedy that night, if you had just kept your mouth shut, we could have slowly taken over the hotel. But no, you had to scream like a madwoman. You ruined everything. You dare to blame your mother?" At the height of their argument, there was no knock. The door was kicked off its hinges. Crack. Three large, rough-looking men entered the small room. The smell of alcohol and tobacco instantly filled the space. Sharon let out a scream. She recognized the leader's face. Chateau. Chateau, she stammered, trembling. The man called Chateau smiled, revealing a gold tooth. Ah, we finally found you, Sharon. You've been hard to find. I thought you had moved into a luxury house. His eyes scanned the miserable motel room with contempt. You owe us a lot of money. Michael, frozen with fear, tried to react. Hey, leave my mother alone. Who are you? Chateau turned to Michael, looking him up and down. Oh, so this is your new investment, Sharon. This is your son you said was so successful. Another man pushed Michael against the wall. So, you're the son? Good. Then you'll pay your mother's debt. What debt? Michael asked, his voice trembling. Chateau's eyes gleamed. He looked at Michael. So that was the collateral. You have a hotel, huh? It's a lie. Michael yelled, panicking. Just as Chateau's man was about to grab Michael, the already broken door was knocked down again. This time, it was uniformed police officers, entering with shields and aiming their guns. Police, don't move. Drop your weapons. The scene was chaos. The loan sharks were surprised. The police, too. They had come for a blackmail suspect, but found 3 alleged loan sharks in the middle of what looked like a kidnapping. The loan sharks, armed only with pocket knives, immediately surrendered. They were handcuffed. A police officer approached Michael. Mr. Michael Miller, you are under arrest for attempted extortion and violation of privacy laws. The officer read the warrant. A second pair of handcuffs clicked shut on Michael's wrists. Michael looked desperately at his mother, who was now being questioned by another officer about her connection to the loan shark gang. She looked back at him with empty eyes. Michael, Sharon moaned. This is all your fault. Michael's anger and despair exploded. It's your greed that has ruined us. Sharon didn't get angry. She just laughed. A dry, hoarse, desperate laugh. Ruined. Yes, Michael, we're ruined. The news broke that same afternoon. Family drama at the Eleanor Grand. Husband arrested for blackmail. Mother with million-dollar debts to loan sharks. Karma was served cold and publicly. The divorce trial was a spectacle. Since news of Michael's arrest broke, the media had relentlessly focused on the Miller family drama. Journalists crowded the family court courtyard, their cameras like a flock of vultures. I arrived promptly at 9 a.m. I didn't hide behind sunglasses or masks. I got out of my car dressed in an impeccable ivory pantsuit and walked with my head held high through the crowd. At my side were a serene Eleanor and Mr. Harrison with a thick briefcase. I didn't lower my head. My eyes looked straight ahead, past the dazzling camera flashes and the shouts of journalists chanting my name. I entered the courthouse not as a victim, but as the CEO of a company. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and formal. In the defendant's box, across from me, sat Michael. The contrast was painfully clear. He no longer wore expensive suits or luxury watches. He wore an orange prison jumpsuit. His face was pale and unshaven. He looked defeated. The judge, a wise-looking middle-aged woman, began the trial. Given the overwhelmingly solid evidence and a pending criminal case, the trial was swift. Mr. Harrison stood up. He didn't need to say much. He just presented the evidence, one by one, methodically. Your Honor, his voice was calm and clear. We present our case based on the defendant's initial declaration of divorce. The defendant consciously expressed his intention to divorce my client, Mrs. Chloe Miller, in front of 3 witnesses. Mr. Harrison called Eleanor and one of the men in suits as witnesses who testified under oath. Second, Mr. Harrison continued, it is proven that the defendant committed a grave act of betrayal by conspiring with his mother, Mrs. Sharon Miller, to attempt to embezzle my client's assets. He presented a second file, the written testimony of Mr. Peterson, and a copy of the fake Future Forward Consulting contract. And third, Your Honor, Mr. Harrison's voice grew graver. Even after being expelled from my client's property, the defendant proceeded to commit the crimes of extortion and violation of privacy laws. He presented a third file, the police report, screenshots of the blackmail messages, and the private photo of me. A murmur ran through the courtroom. The judge read the documents, a deep furrow on her forehead. She looked at Michael coldly. "Defendant, do you wish to refute this evidence?" Michael trembled. He looked at me. I met his gaze. My eyes were serene, without hatred or love, only emptiness. "It's a lie," he mumbled. "It's all a lie. She brainwashed me." From the back of the courtroom, Sharon stood up and screamed, "He's right. That woman is a witch. She has brainwashed him." The scene became chaotic. The judge slammed her gavel. "Silence. Bailiff, remove that spectator from the courtroom." Sharon fell back into her seat, her body trembling violently. Michael continued to ramble. "Chloe, please don't divorce me. I love you. Don't ruin my life." But it was too late. The judge cleared her throat and looked at Michael with an expression of disgust. "Defendant, not only have you failed as a husband, but also as a human being. The court's decision is as follows. 1. The divorce between Chloe Miller and Michael Miller is granted, effective immediately." The first bang of the gavel sealed it. 2. The judge continued, "Since this divorce is based on the grave fault and crimes committed by the defendant, it is declared that the defendant's right to any marital property is completely nullified." The second bang of the gavel was the final nail in Michael's coffin. He got not 1 cent. In the back row, Sharon howled hysterically. She knew it was the end. Michael slumped, powerless. His handcuffs clinked. He was nothing anymore. No wife, no house, no company, no fortune. All he had left was an orange prison jumpsuit and a criminal case waiting for him. I closed my eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. I didn't feel victory. I just felt freedom. I stood up, gave a respectful nod to the judge, and turned around. I walked out without looking back. I didn't need to see Michael being dragged away by the guards. I didn't need to hear Sharon's howls screaming my name. Outside, the camera flashes erupted again, but this time I stopped. I stood in front of dozens of microphones. "Today," I said, my voice clear and broadcast across the country, "justice has been served. The legal system has protected me." "Thank you." A journalist shouted, "Miss Miller, do you have any message for your ex-husband?" I looked directly at the camera. He is no longer my husband. 2 years later, I was no longer just the owner of the Eleanor Grand. My photo graced the covers of business magazines, not as a victim or a rich divorcee, but as the innovative CEO of the year. I had completely revamped the hotel's management, promoting the honest Mr. Peterson to the new CFO and building a solid team based on integrity, not nepotism. The hotel was now building 3 new branches in Miami and Aspen. That day, I was on the podium in the main ballroom of my hotel. Hundreds of VIPs, officials, and journalists attended. I wore a modern designer pantsuit that radiated elegance. I wasn't inaugurating a new hotel. Today, I was launching the Eleanor Vance Foundation for Women. I am here, my voice resonated in the room, not just as a CEO. I am here as a woman who once felt fear and helplessness. I was threatened. I was belittled. But I learned that our greatest strength is not in the absence of fear, but in facing it. This foundation will provide legal aid, business mentorship, and a safe haven for women who find themselves in situations where they feel they have no voice, because every woman deserves to be the CEO of her own life. The room erupted in applause. In the front row, Eleanor watched, her eyes shining with pride. I had not only passed the test, I had redefined it. In a forgotten, sordid corner of the city, a scene of cruel contrast unfolded. In the visiting room of a prison that smelled of cheap disinfectant and despair, Michael sat behind a thick pane of glass. He was thin now, his gaze empty. The 5-year sentence he received for extortion and attempted fraud had taken what was left of his spirit. An old woman sat on the other side of the glass, holding the phone receiver with trembling hands. It was Sharon. Her hair was gray, her face lined with a bitterness that went beyond age. She had lost her house, her social status, and her son. After the loan sharks were arrested, their ledgers had implicated her, and she had received a suspended sentence and a massive fine that she was paying off by working as a dishwasher in a greasy spoon diner. "It's her fault," Sharon hissed into the phone. "That woman took everything from us." "If you had just stopped blaming others, Mom," Michael replied, his voice dull. "This is all because of your greed, too. A $3 million gambling debt. You were crazy. You dragged me into this hell. Ungrateful son." Sharon shrieked, banging on the glass. A guard immediately yelled, "Visiting time is over." The line went dead. Michael was dragged back to his cell. Sharon stumbled out of the prison. She went back to the diner. The smell of stale stew and sweat hit her nose. She entered the dirty back kitchen and continued scrubbing the pile of dirty dishes. As she scoured a burnt pot with steel wool, the evening news came on the old TV in the corner of the restaurant. Sharon looked up distractedly, and on the screen, she saw me. Radiant. Beautiful. I was being interviewed about the launch of my new foundation. "Miss Miller, you are an inspiration," the host said. Sharon froze. Her hand holding the steel wool stopped moving. She looked at the woman on the screen, the woman she once called ignorant. The woman she had kicked out. The woman who now had everything she had ever dreamed of. While she, Sharon, had nothing but a pile of dirty dishes and an eternal regret. She didn't cry. Her tears had already dried. "So, tell me, after hearing all this, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself against people who try to tear you down? I really want to know your thoughts in the comments below."